Good afternoon, all. It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It is time to start this meeting. We're going to call it to order at 3 o'clock. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the agenda, item number 3 calls for the approval of the agenda. Motion made and supported. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? There being none. Agenda item number 4 is for public comment on non-agenda items. There being none, we will move on to agenda item number 5, approval of the minutes from April the 28th, 2026.
And if I could remind you to have your mics on when you make a motion. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
Minutes look okay? Any discrepancies? We good? Motion been made to approve the minutes as presented. Is it supported?
Support.
Motion made and supported. All in favor say aye. Aye. Are there any nays? Any abstentions? Ayes have it. Agenda item number 6.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Leanna, and I'm one of the zoning administrators with the Township. I'll be presenting both of the requests before you today. The first item before you is a frontage variance request from Jenny Galey with the Meyer C. Weiner Company to allow a land division which results in a parcel about 6.4 acres in area without any frontage. Any land division is subject to the minimum dimensional criteria of the zoning ordinance, including the 200-foot frontage requirement for any unplatted parcel in the C local business district zoning designation. The parent parcel is outlined in blue in the aerial image on page 5 of the report, with the proposed resultant parcel outlined in orange. A snapshot of that is shown here on the screen. Various easements on the parent parcel are in place for access, parking, and utilities. Staff reviewed the proposed egress easements and are recommending that further easements be required as conditions of approval if granted. One would be connecting the 2 proposed egress easements encompassing the entire drive aisle, shown here in blue. Another would be between the Carissa building and the post office on the eastern property line. And this graphic is also shown on page 6 of the report. Here are the 5 principles the Michigan courts have applied for a variance, which collectively amount to demonstrating a practical difficulty. The board may consider the placement of the existing buildings, parking, and service drives to be a unique physical circumstance or condition limiting compliance with the frontage requirement. The subject building is tucked into the southwest corner of this development. This land division would not be able to be approved unless a variance from section 50.10 of the zoning ordinance is granted. Options appear limited for the applicant to divide the parcel compliant with the zoning ordinance without creating a condominium or plat of the entire property. It is reasonable for the applicant and K-RESA representatives to want to create a separate tax parcel for the K-RESA building, given that the access and parking will continue to be shared and no physical changes to the property would result if the variance is granted. Reasonable options for compliance are available by continuing to operate the property in its present state without the division from the parent parcel. Use is presently being made of the property, and denial of the variance would not prevent continuing the current use. When we were researching past zoning board of appeals decisions, we found one similar request. You may remember, this was earlier this year in January. It was for the First National Bank at 5313 West Main Street. The request was similar, a frontage variance from section 50.10 of the zoning ordinance to allow for a land division of an unplatted parcel without any frontage. The Zoning Board of Appeals did grant the variance, finding the criteria were satisfied. Reciprocal easements in perpetuity for cross-access, utilities, stormwater were a condition of the approval. This request is the result of the applicant's interest in the K-RISA facility to be a separate tax parcel and sold. We recommend considering the existing conditions on site, including the configuration of the various buildings on the parent parcel, and whether this is considered a self-created hardship. The purpose of the dimensional requirements of this section of the zoning ordinance are shown here on the screen. These requirements do have value in that they serve to limit the number of driveways and control access along public streets. However, in this case, it can be argued that the spirit of the ordinance would be observed by allowing the requested variance, and that no additional driveways are being requested, and that shared access, parking, and utilities would be placed within easements in perpetuity. The 2045 Oshtemo Comprehensive Plan did include a special study of underutilized commercial areas in the township. With implementation of the plan commencing later this year, it is expected that new requirements would be established for existing commercial areas, allowing for situations such as the one proposed presently for the K-RISA building, provided those easements are in place. On this slide is a summary of the findings of fact for approval and denial of the variance. They are in the report. And lastly, here are possible board motions. Possible board motions include approving or denying the variance. If the ZBA approves the variance request, there are a handful of conditions suggested in the staff report, including the staff recommended easements. And here is the full aerial map of the property. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have. I also notice that the applicant is in the audience with us this afternoon, if you have any questions for them as well.
Thank you.
I have a question, if I might.
Sure.
You referenced the old National Bank case that we saw sometime earlier this summer. And my recollection of that was there was a real small, skinny strip separating the rest of the property from West Main Street. And
Right.
nobody could figure out why, when the initial property was split up, that little skinny strip was put in. So in order to utilize the property, we said, okay, we'll grant the variance on that. You're drawing an analogy between that case and this case. I don't understand the analogy. This doesn't seem to me to be the same type of case. We're not talking about a small, skinny strip here. Is there something I'm missing?
Right, so the First National Bank did have a unique circumstance where the frontage for the golf course parcel to the east, it did abut the frontage of that proposed parcel. It's similar in the sense that it's from the same section of the ordinance and it's for an unplatted commercial property.
Okay. Thank you.
And they did kind of do the same thing here, as shown here on the screen, with the frontage.
Leanna, do we know how Lowe's, was that a variance back in the day? That doesn't appear to have any frontage.
I'm not aware. It may be that that small skinny portion of frontage there was used to allow it to be a buildable parcel and have enough frontage on Drake Road there.
I think Lowe's has frontage on M43 and Drake, if I'm looking at the parcel breakdown correctly.
It just has frontage on Drake Road. That's not entirely correct how that's drawn. That little blue that goes on Drake Road is not part of the parcel that we're talking about. That's actually part of the Rose parcel, and it does have frontage on.
We are broadcasting this, so we would need to
Yeah,
use
so-
the microphone.
The little
Can we-
parcel actually.
Can we, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Can we hold on to that comment until we allow you to approach the next turn?
Sure.
Thank you, respectfully.
She's right, though, the drawing is wrong.
The drawing is accurate for what we have in our GIS.
I just clicked on it, and it shows Lowe's with the frontage. Oh, this is a 2-inch
Yeah.
drop again.
I'm trying
Okay,
to
yeah,
pull it
I
up.
see it. It doesn't, Lowe's does not have frontage.
I don't exactly know why it's not.
More,
I have a question, and this is coming about because Kate Reason wants to purchase the property, correct?
That's correct.
That's the impetus for this.
Right.
No, we know that.
more questions from the board.
We submitted a letter. We will see more of these as we want our underutilized massive parking lots put to good use in an area served with infrastructure. So those are some of the changes Leanne was describing that we'll be making to the zoning ordinance later this year or early next year to put these parking lots to good use. So like behind Maple Home Mall, I can foresee a similar variance request to in the future, if the provisions stay in place.
Here's that configuration. Apology for the delay. It's having some technical difficulties, but this is from our GIS. If you have no further questions for me, I'd be happy to invite the applicant up here if you have any questions for them.
Yes, thank you. Do we have any representation for Meyer C. Wine Company? Good afternoon, sir. Could you approach the next turn and give us your name?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Josh Weiner of the Meyer C. Weiner Company, and thank goodness I'm joined here by Jenny Galey, my colleague, who is responsible for preparation of the application, and my partner Tim Timmons, and head of our engineering, construction, and design, Shannon Orr. So if I don't know the answer to the question, thank goodness I've got them to help me. I think the main point here is, and Ms. Tavoria said it well, we'll be seeing in our community more of these kinds of applications. And I believe once the 2045 comprehensive plan is adopted, we'll see less of these variance requests because the requests will fall within those guidelines. There will be no practical changes to the operation of any of the properties contained within the tax parcels that comprise the West Main development, West Main 2000. K. Reese has been a wonderful tenant for us for a number of years. They wish to acquire the property, control their own destiny, make improvements to it, and we're pleased to be able to accommodate them and have entered into contract for that purchase, subject, of course, to the approval of a separate parcel for them, hence the impetus for this request of a variance. If there are any further questions, happy to help or direct to my colleagues.
Thank you, sir. Questions from the board?
And a comment was made, and we picked up that you were saying that that little strip on Drake Road is inaccurate. Please come on up to the microphone, though, because we do have to keep this.
Yes, ma'am. Can you also give us your name? Thank you.
Shannon Orr, my Company. No, you are correct. The Lowe's property line goes to the property line, not including the right-of-way section. So that strip is accurate.
Oh, it is accurate on
It
here.
is
Okay,
accurate.
I misunderstood then.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question to ask, and please forgive me, I'm as thick as a brick sometimes. I can understand Kay Risa wanting to buy this, I can understand you wanting to sell it to him, okay? I can understand you giving easements. What I'm not understanding is why you're not just squaring a piece off. Why are you keeping that little thin strip? What are you gonna do with that? I mean, is there some purpose for it? And the reason why I'm thinking of this is, I'm thinking of somebody sitting up here maybe 40 years down the road, looking at that, thinking, why did they do that?
So the purpose of us keeping a boundary around K-Risa
Yep.
is we have a shop at the west side of the property for this,
Just,
a maintenance shop for this.
Just a minute, it just went dead.
Yeah, it's not playing today. I think it's because the public comment timer is going.
Oh. Okay, no, sir.
Is it working now?
Louis.
I will allow that. No, that's good.
All right.
Yeah, the yellow parcel's what's getting transferred outright to them. That's what they're gonna get, right?
That's correct,
And
yeah.
I'm questioning,
So if you look towards the golf course to the west side, towards the north of that yellow, you'll see that's our West Main maintenance shop.
yep,
So we actually have a path that goes back there into the woods, and we stockpile our mulch and our stone. And it's important to us to keep that, because we don't want to be putting it in the middle of the parking field. So we utilize that for part of the maintenance of the property.
do you see that? There's a maintenance shed there.
It's right there.
right here, and there's trails back here. They use this area for staging.
Okay, all right.
Good question.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any more questions from the board, please?
No, but I was thinking this looks like a voting district.
There we go.
Thank you, sir. You
Thank
can
you.
take your seat. Thank you. Do you have anyone else that would like to comment? There being none. All right.
Staging area.
Let me see here.
Yes, we can have a conversation.
I understand the request, and I understand the rationale for parceling it out. I also hear and understand this is a future trend, and it makes me uncomfortable. I am not a fan of wedging things in, and the township 40 years from now, 10 years from now, looking like crammed everything in. I understand that's where we are. I understand we have a bunch of concrete that needs to be used and has infrastructure, and I'm not a fan of this approach.
Thank you.
In this land division that we're looking at, it's kind of got an L shape to it. So you can encompass part of the parking lot to the north of that building. Is there a chance we're looking at possibly expanding that building and using that much of it? Or could that be a lesser division, I guess I would say?
So that parking was required when we built that for Olympia Training Institute. And I know your parking.
You really need to, there are people watching at home, I'm sure it's just dying to hear what you're saying.
So that parking was built when we did the Olympia Training Institute back in 2004, and it was required. I know the parking ordinance has changed since, but we built what was required for that building.
Okay. Jody, you were saying we're going to be seeing a lot, we were likely to see a lot more of these, is that correct?
Correct. Just even is it Valvoline that's in front of Meyer or whatever, that oil change place? If they wanted to own, they might need a division, or Bigby, making
Okay.
use of parking lots, although the oil change might have frontage on 9th Street, as I say that.
Okay, so historically, when we put these outlot buildings in, and now all of a sudden we're going to change it, they want to own the property that they were just at, is that because of the new master plan, or is it just a new trend?
Probably just a new trend. I think with K-RISA, they're tax exempt, so they would probably like to own it. Then they wouldn't be paying property taxes in their lease payment.
Okay.
You know, I think what you're seeing here is just a change in economics that's resulting in these requests. Keep in mind, as you consider the variance, that the alternative is simply to draft a site condominium, and you could do all of this. It's just a lot of paperwork to get to the same result, because the only thing you would be doing with a site condominium is developing it as an overall project and then allocating a certain portion of the site to a specific parcel. So you can achieve the same result. One is relatively straightforward, you grant a variance, and the other is, again, a lot of paperwork that makes attorneys
A
a
lot
lot
of
of
work
money.
for the attorneys, right?
Oh, yeah, anytime that's complicated, the lawyers always win.
Okay, so it can come about
Oh, yeah.
one way or another.
Sure. This is just, you know, I know planning and zoning, when we're looking at this, one of the ways to do it is, the whole reason you have a land division ordinance, and the whole reason you have certain requirements is to provide for an organized development. This doesn't change the development, it simply allows it to be separated from the overall parent parcel. So I just thought that would be helpful as you consider whether or not to grant a variance. This can all be done with a stroke of a pen, but a lot of ink before you sign it.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, Mr. Chairman, with that being said, I move that we grant this application basically that it's a unique situation, and obviously it's not going to have anything to do with public safety or welfare. It's going to be there one way or another.
There is a motion on the floor.
Harry, would that include the conditions that were attached?
I'm sorry.
Would that include the conditions that the planning
Oh, yeah,
department's
we're
recommending?
talking about the easements and that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, yes. Including the easements as the planning commission has stated.
Thank you, Harry. There is a motion on the floor to grant this variance in addition with the recommendations set forth.
I would
Is this-
support that.
And it has been supported. Calling for the vote. All in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? The ayes have it. Are there any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you for coming. You're free to leave whenever you so please.
Us allowing that to happen, because that's unusable.
Good day. Good day.
I don't wish to interrupt, but first of all, thank you. And I want to thank the township staff, Leanna and Jody particularly, and Attorney Porter for meeting with us and working with us and helping us through this process. I think it was a good give and take, and appreciate that we don't want to see piecemeal solutions to issues, but I think we had a lot of conversation and discussion beforehand to address those. So thank you very much.
Have a good day, sir. Thank you for coming. Excuse me. Next agenda item.
Me again. All right. The second item on the agenda is a variance from the minimum development size for a commercial planned unit development, which are also known as PUDs, of 10 acres. This is requested by Michigan Housing Partnership LLC, also known as Alan Edwin Homes. The properties 6719, 6731, and 6745 Stadium Drive total about 9 acres and are shown outlined in yellow on the aerial map here. The purpose of the PU ordinance, which we'll get into more later on, is to permit greater flexibility and more creative and imaginative design for developments. Approving the request would facilitate the development of approximately 51 single-family detached rear and front-loaded homes. The latest concept that the applicant provided to us is attached to the report. Here again are the 5 principles for a variance, which collectively amount to demonstrating a practical difficulty. When considering unique fiscal circumstances, you may consider that if the properties were combined and established in this configuration, the same configuration, but recorded in a document at the Kalamazoo Register of Deeds before 1988, no variance would be necessary because the minimum size would be 7.5 acres. As I mentioned earlier, the minimum development size requirement for a commercial PUD outlined in the zoning ordinance is 10 acres. Development of a commercial PUD with these properties would not be permitted unless a variance from the minimum acreage requirement is granted, as the combined acreage is shy by about 1 acre. Reasonable use of the properties would remain without the variance being granted. However, the properties have been vacant for some time. The structures, which did include single-family dwellings, were demolished in 1991, 2018, and 2021. Although the applicant is not proposing a mix of uses, we recommend considering how the mixed-use district development tool, which was adopted in 2024, requires a minimum of 5 contiguous acres. Originally, a minimum of 20 contiguous acres were considered. Ultimately, it was found that a 5-acre minimum was more appropriate. Following the adoption of the 2045 Oshtemo Comprehensive Plan, amendments are being studied for the zoning ordinance that would probably or may include similar changes to reduce the minimum development size for a PUD, both residential and commercial, potentially negating the necessity for the variance had the request been made sometime in the future. We suggest discussing with the applicant whether there are options to acquire additional property to meet the minimum 10-acre development size. The request could be considered the minimum necessary for substantial justice, since the request is for about 1 acre. In researching past zoning board of appeals decisions regarding relief from the minimum development size for any PUD, we could not identify any similar past cases, and this decision may be precedent-setting. However, any development that wishes to utilize this tool does have additional criteria to outline, to satisfy, which is outlined in the ordinance. The request is at the discretion of the applicant and the property owner. However, the amendments following the adoption of the comprehensive plan, as I said before, may potentially negate the necessity for the variance. The full purpose of the PUD ordinance is outlined in the staff report, but as a reminder, it is to permit greater flexibility and more creative and imaginative design for development. Some other things I'd like to call out are, for example, promoting a more economical and efficient use of the land, implementing sub-area plans, harmonious variety of housing choices, safe and efficient streets, etc. We suggest considering whether granting the variance would allow the spirit of the ordinance to be observed, as it's not expected that granting the variance would negatively impact the health, safety, or welfare of others, as any development under this tool does have those additional criteria to satisfy. Here are suggested findings of fact for approval and denial of the variance. And lastly, here are possible board motions, which include approving or denying the variance. Here I have the aerial on the screen, as well as their most recent site plan that they provided to us. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
You have a question. If we approve this, what's the next step with the site plan and 51 homes going on 9 acres?
So the PUD process, it is a two-step, optional three-step process. So they'll do an optional pre-application review. Following that, they do a special use conceptual plan review, which is a public hearing at the Planning Commission. So the Planning Commission would review their conceptual plan, grant an expression of approval, and then with that expression of the approval, they would move forward with preparing their site plan, and then they would do a full site plan review. So there's still some steps in the process. This would just enable them to move forward with beginning the design and engineering that.
Thank you.
Further questions from the board?
This design plan that's submitted along with this application, is that, if we approve this, are we approving that plan as well?
No, so this would just enable them to move forward in the PUD process. So they couldn't begin even, the optional pre-application review because the properties don't meet the minimum development size. So that's why they're requesting this.
Well, I'm not on the planning commission, but I do look at this as something that, that's a lot of structure in a small area. And it's also, when we start talking about health and safety, that section of the road's getting very, very busy, and that's gonna be a whole lot more vehicles going through there.
How are you gonna turn a fire truck around in there?
They'd probably back out. And of course, then that would have to go before the fire marshal to approve it. There has to be certain minimum requirements.
Yeah, those are all issues that really need to be addressed by the planning commission.
Right, and this is just one of the concepts that they provided to us. I imagine as they, move forward in the design of it, for example, block lengths are an issue here, so that will have to be broken up. So this probably won't be the exact plan that's before the Planning Commission. This was just one of their first schematics, if you will.
I understand that. I still have concerns because once we approve this, then it goes to another committee, another board, and what are they going to do with it?
Right, and I'm sure the township engineer and the fire marshal they will review the plans at that time.
Oh, I understand, yeah, I understand that, and I know Jim will look at the fire truck situation. Another, okay.
I know this is in the packet, so I apologize, but what's the current zoning?
It's village commercial.
Village commercial?
So it would have to be rezoned then?
No, so any commercial PUD, it's a special use within any non-residential district. So it would not have to be rezoned.
Can you say that again and explain it for me, please?
Yeah, so commercial PUDs are a special use in all non-residential zoning districts.
So basically, you're saying if it's going to be a planned unit development, it could be an industrial zone, or a commercial zone, or whatever,
Right.
and this is zoned commercial.
Well, it's
Right,
village commercial. The first use listed is allowed in the village commercial district is single-family homes. So it's, PUD is the tool to develop the land.
Right.
What's preventing them from developing the land without the PUD? What's the holdup?
Yeah, why are they doing it?
I would ask the applicant to
Yeah.
speak to that, but
Yeah.
I think it has to do with the single deed model that they're proposing.
Single deed model?
All
So
rentals.
all, right.
The what?
Single deed models,
The homes wouldn't be for sale, they'd be for rent.
rental.
Right.
Oh,
And I'll ask the applicant to speak to that as well.
Well, we get to that in just a second.
Okay.
Okay, we can, if no more questions for her, we can have, if there are any representatives from the applicant, please approach the lectern, sir, and give us your name.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mike West with Alan Edwin Homes, 2186 East Center Avenue in Portage, Michigan. I'd like to thank the board for their consideration this afternoon on this variance request. We've been working with staff probably for the last 3 or 4 months on different concepts. The concept that's up on the screen is one of the earlier ones. I think we met as early as last week with Jody to discuss another concept plan. But again, we can't get beyond a concept plan review until we address this commercial PUD. My understanding, we went through a pre-application review by the administrative staff here, and the only way to get the design that we wanted with single-family homes and the home types that we were proposing was through a commercial PUD. That's what got us to this point. The design, the layout, all that stuff is still subject to change. Like I said, the most recent one we've bounced off Jody was last week, and it's different than this. But they are single-family detached homes. We're still evaluating whether we want to do the build-to-rent, single deed rental, or whether we want to do a traditional condominium out there where you would own the unit and the land would all be in common ownership. We're still evaluating that. But again, to do the type of homes and the type of style of development we want, we need the commercial PUD or it doesn't work. So in that regard, there's just a couple things I'd like to follow up on. I know in the ordinance, the standard is 10 acres, but then it's also 7.5 acres if the boundaries of the property were recorded prior to 1988. My understanding is all three of these homes, or all three of these parcels have existed in this form since 88 or before. That's at least my understanding. If they would have been combined back then, we would have been at 9 acres and we would have been falling under that 7.5 acre provision of the ordinance, which would allow us to move forward. I also think that larger parcel, the 6745 Stadium Drive property, that's 7.9 acres right now. So if that parcel did exist prior to 88, which I believe it did, we could develop just the 7.9 acre parcel. But the problem with that would be, is you'd be leaving those two very small skinny half-acre parcels remaining. So development of those two would be difficult individually, if not incorporated into this design. We did, from our initial consultations with staff, we did reach out to the property owners. I know our property acquisitions person tried to contact both the Caracas Trust to the east, and then the Nemeth Trust to the west, trying to see if there's any interest in acquiring additional property, and we have not heard anything back yet on that positively at all. So, again, we have a purchase agreement currently with this property owner that has some timelines that we have to meet, so we're pursuing this variance. As the staff report indicates, I don't think the spirit or intent of the ordinance is harmed in any way by this project or this request. There's been a recent ordinance that was adopted, the mixed-use ordinance, which only has a 5-acre minimum, and then there's also going to be some consideration, my understanding is, for reduction of some of the PUD standards as well as far as the ordinance minimum. So, with that being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have a question for you, Jody. Is, if his statement is correct, did the planning department recommend this be developed as a PUD?
When they ran some concepts by us, we talked about what methods in the ordinance would be, they'd have to follow, would make it a possibility to do this project. So, and the PUD was one of the tools in our toolbox that they could pursue.
I guess I'm just having trouble figuring out why do this as a PUD? What advantage to the township is developing this piece of land as a PUD going to do?
Well, it creates more home sites, more homes, not sites. They'll all be on the same site. But it's another way to get additional housing, I suppose.
Okay. But we know from some, no, we don't know that from this.
I have a question of clarity. I'm looking at the plan right now. I'm looking at the plan right now, and I only see one entry coming in off of Stadium, off of Stadium Drive. One entry and one exit.
I don't want you guys to get too hung up on this concept, and maybe it was a mistake to include it in the report, because it's really
Yeah, the focus needs to be on the
on the
variance
acreage.
request, on the
Yeah,
acreage,
nothing about
not
the
on plan.
layout. That'll be vetted by fire and engineering, road commission, planning commission.
I'm just relaying what I see, but I understand what you're
So
saying.
you want us to narrow this down and make this whole decision on whether or not developing 9 acres
Versus 10.
versus 10?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the issue.
No, I want to know what's getting developed and why we're doing it that way. That's my problem.
Except that's,
Yeah, and if
that's not a
the-
criteria for this board to determine.
Is it reasonable? I want to wait until the 2045 plan comes out, and if it's allowed, then it's a green light, right?
Well, it is adopted. It was adopted last week, but the
Okay.
implementation will lead to the zoning changes.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep going back to, the plot plan as presented here, knowing that this is just a simple, I would really feel a lot more comfortable I saw something a little more concrete as to what's really planned.
The difficulty with that is the staff we can't get a formal review with the planning commission and the township board if we're substandard on the acreage. So the staff will give us their opinions and their comments, but that's not they're not the approval body, it's the planning commission, township board. So we can't get to that stage until this variance is adopted.
But you could have presented a concept like we see here, but a
We've
little more accurate as to what you really have planned.
We've presented probably 3 or 4 different concepts. This is one of the very early ones that we've presented, and it was included with the agenda materials, I think, just for reference for you folks to let you know. We are looking at single-family detached in a mixed form of development. We're looking at 2, 3, and 4-bedroom homes, Some of them are what we call rear-loaded, where they have a rear-loaded garage. Some of them are front-loaded. Some 2 stories, some ranches. It's a good mixture of homes that we think can supplement the need for housing in the township and in the village center area that complement the businesses there too. But the other concepts we have look very similar to what you have on the screen right now, just a different layout. And you have an extremely thorough staff here for review, so you should have no concerns about them approving something that doesn't meet accessibility for emergency vehicles or access or anything like that. We're going to have to knock all those things out before it even gets probably in front of the Planning Commission or Township Board. But again, we're not going to get there until we see whether the variance is allowable or not.
Further questions for the applicant? Correct. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any public comments? Please approach the lectern and give us your name, sir.
Sami Karakis. Basically, this would be nice because that property has been vacant for so many years. It would be very nice to see some more housing stuff. In the past, before Jody got here, Iris, she talked constantly about wanting to see more housing in the downtown area. So this would be nice. Could you guys tell us what size houses are they looking at? Are we looking at 1,200? Are we looking at 1,000? Are they tiny houses or what? Could we know that, or should I talk to the developer?
We don't know any of that yet.
Okay,
Minimum
okay.
requirement is 1,000 square.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, okay. Thank you. But yeah, I like it a lot, and it's to this property is to the west of, what we have interest in. Or I don't have interest, but the trust does. So that would be nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Karakis. Are there any more public comments? Would like to take the lectern. Thank you. Do you have any more from the applicant, any more representative that would like to take the lectern and say anything? There being none. Thank you. What you got?
I'm just struggling with the planned unit development. Planned unit development kind of is something that'll trump the underlying zoning. As long as you build according to the plan, then you can pretty much get anything in the planned unit development. And so not really knowing what's planned for this planned unit development, I'm bothered by that. The underlying issue that Mr. Porter would like us to rule on whether a 1 acre deviation from that planned unit development size or not is to be granted. Well, it's pretty close. I mean, 1 acre isn't going to make a big deal of difference, but it's for a planned unit development that we know nothing about, and that kind of bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's a slippery slope, an acre here, an acre there, an acre here, an acre there. And if we think changes are coming down the road, I want to wait until we see those changes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
It
sir.
almost seems like what I'm hearing, we are not those other bodies that have to rule on this. They're asking us for a different phase of this project, and they can't go along and do what they want to do unless we approve what we know about it so far. I'm okay doing that, especially knowing it's going to be looked at least by two different groups before anything really happens. They're not going to start building houses until they get the approval from the other bodies. And then if there's still concerns, they can come back before us, it seems like, and address them then. But it seems like we're being asked to address issues that really belong in somebody else's category to approve or not approve. I guess what I'm saying is I would err on the side of, they're gonna get 2 more reviews at least before they would come back here. So it doesn't really hurt anything if we give the approval now to let them continue with the process. It seems to me like the prudent thing to do.
Any more comments, board? Do we have enough to set forth a motion? And if so, who will be doing that?
Go for it.
With the portion of the agenda in the meeting to whereas either we make a motion and if it's supported and vote on it or not.
If you'll help me work through it, I'll make the motion to approve the concept at this point.
Pending,
To allow the development of, as a planned unit development, the approximately 9-acre parcel
Yes,
represented at these 3.
so there's a motion to allow for this PUD.
Fred, is that based on the statement of facts that the planning commission, or the planning
Yeah.
department provided supporting the variance approval?
yes.
That's the entire motion. There's a motion on the floor to allow for this PUD pending the recommendation of the planning and development. Recommendations? If that is a proper motion, is it supported?
I'll support it.
So the motion has been made and properly supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays?
Nay.
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 Any abstentions? The nays have it.
So that motion failed. Do you want to put a,
Excuse me?
I guess I'm just wondering, just for the record, do you want
A motion to deny?
a motion to deny? Because right now, we're sort of in limbo. The motion to approve died, so I think you need a motion to deny.
So, is there a motion, anybody want to make a motion to deny?
I make a motion to deny.
There's been a motion made to deny. Has it been supported?
I'll support that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? Thank you. Thank you for coming. The next agenda item Other updates in business.
We included in the packet the site plan review process, because some questions were raised at the planning commission meeting a couple weeks ago, and it was late, and my brain wasn't working right, and so I decided to pull this from another document we are creating, and put it in your packet, put it in the planning commission packet, and now it's a township board agenda item somehow. This informational item, but I thought it was good information to have.
We appreciate you, Jody.
Sure.
We appreciate everyone here. Well, it seems as though we have exhausted our agenda items. Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned at 3:55 PM. Thank you.